WNST, Towson, not just a long 2 weeks. It's going to be a long aftermath in the aftermath of whatever this is going to be for the Ravens that doesn't look like it's going to end with a parade. Dennis Koulatsos joins us here now. Of course, the Coons Florida Security Boulevard, one of our great supporters and sponsors and friends, and he hosts the Sunday Sports Voice. That's 3 to 5 on Thursday this week and every week. And there's not a game this weekend, but there's going to be plenty to dissect in the aftermath of what has really been an incredible collapse. You know, I keep telling Luke this, and I'll keep saying this on the air. I left my wife in the fourth quarter 2 weeks ago to come down into the press box, as I always do at the end of the third quarter. And the Ravens were winning 17-7, and they had the ball, and they were going to be 5-2. And 2 weeks later, and 8-9 bad quarters of football later, it feels like a lot of things are about to change around here.
Yeah, it sure does, Nestor. They've come a long way from where they were, and that was the beginning of the end, so to speak. Long slide. The offense hasn't been the same ever since. Neither has the defense. Plenty of blame to go around. The coaching staff, quarterback play, defense, clock management, timeout management. I mean, this thing, it's really starting to stink. It's a great time for them to have a bye week. They have a couple of weeks before their first game against the Bengals. I certainly have thoughts, strong thoughts, as I've had all season long, about the direction of this team and where they can begin to fix it. Beginning with me, I was pounding the table for the second week in a row to see Lamar Jackson in under center in the second half. Because I tweeted out at halftime, Flack was not going to bring this team back. And you know what? He didn't. And he had opportunities to. I saw you tweet out that there were receivers open that he didn't see. But that's been his M.O. When he's bad, he's bad. And
by the way, I haven't seen him miss wide open. I mean, we've bitched about a lot of things with Joe Flacco, right? I mean, you can complain about whatever you want. You can praise him on whatever side. But the complaint isn't he doesn't see the field well, right? Like that he misses routinely wide open receivers for touchdowns. That's not the Joe Flacco story. That really isn't. And that was a story a little bit on Sunday in a game against the Steelers at home. I think he's a little shook up. Harbaugh's shook up. I think they're all as shook up as we are as fans because I think we all thought they were better than this, and I think they thought they were better than this, and now they're really in a hole. And a hole, by the way, I think Bisciotti's going to allow them to climb out of on their own accord. I don't know that there's massive change, but to hear Harbaugh echo your sentiments that we need more of Lamar Jackson, that sounds like the owner talking.
Yeah, no, I agree with you there, Nestor. And look, they have a chance to turn things around. I hope that Bisciotti doesn't fire Harbaugh mid-season. I don't think he's going to do that. It's not his style. It's not his M.O. I would be greatly disappointed as a Ravens fan if he did do that, but I don't see that happening. I think he'll give him time. But they're at a point, Nestor, they're almost better off going 4-12 than going 8-8 again. I mean, they're almost better off not doing well the rest of the season. Look, we don't want to see that certainly as fans from a competitive standpoint, but it may be time to put Lamar Jackson in there, construct an offense built around his strengths, and see if this rookie is able to make the next step, to see if he is in fact the future, and if he can progress and get better as the season goes along. That's what that's what people miss. When Lamar Jackson comes in there, the offense was already set to gimmicky. It's also Joe Flacco's offense. It's not his offense. It's not tailored to his strengths. But if I'm the organization, I shut down Joe for the rest of the season, and I ride with Lamar Jackson. People have called me out. They think I'm crazy, but to me, crazy is to keep doing the same things you've been doing and trying to expecting a different result. It just doesn't work that way in real life, and neither does it work that way in pro football either.
But I think there are also out there, and many out there, who believe Lamar Jackson can't win football games in this league right now in any sort of offense, and certainly with the offensive line being where it is, that he's going to be out there running for his life, and he's not as good as Joe Flacco. Let's just call this what it is, you know.
I'd rather see him running for his life because at least he can run for his life. Joe Flacco can't run for his life. Joe Flacco needs a stout offensive line in front of him. Joe Flacco needs time. He can't buy time with his feet like a more mobile quarterback such as Lamar Jackson can. So to me, I think part of the reason why Joe doesn't see the whole field, part of the reason why Joe locks in on his primary target is because he doesn't have confidence that the offensive line is going to give him an extra second and a half or 2 seconds. That way he can go through his progressions. That's something that people miss. So if he doesn't have confidence, if he's got a quick trigger to get rid of the ball for fear of getting sacked or blindsided, then all the more reason to bring in Lamar Jackson. People say, well, Lamar Jackson can't play in this league. Well, how do we know until we give him a chance? How do we know unless we put the kid in there and see if he can figure it out?
He is Dennis Koulatsos. He will be here on Thursday from 3 until 5. I will be joining him. It is bye week. There's no football this week, so there's plenty of meat on the bone. All right, so let's start with this, Dennis. So you don't believe at all that Joe Flacco is going to survive this and be the quarterback of this football team on April 1st of next year?
No, I think the only thing that can happen to Joe Flacco right now for the rest of the season, he may get himself hurt. Somebody may roll up on him. He may get hit because of the porous offensive line. I just don't see this thing getting better. I tune in and watch, the Saints and the Rams, and it's 35-17 at halftime, and I'm thinking, how is John McVay going to bring this team back? And you know what? He does. I mean, they lost 45-35, but, we saw 80 points, Nestor. I think we're tired in this town to watch this type of an offense. They scored 16 points against the Steelers. They didn't score enough last week against the Panthers. They scored 21 points. This is the NFL 2018. We'd like to see modern offenses. We'd like to see that. Of course, we cap it up by watching the Patriots and the Packers. Two more great quarterbacks, two more great offenses. At this point, we got to see points. So when you hold the Pittsburgh Steelers to 23 points, you know what? It's not a great defensive performance. They certainly had some lapses, but I also think that the offense is the reason why this team doesn't have a better record at this point of the season.
Dennis, defensively, it's been a mess across the middle of the field. So, we've been on Lamar and on Joe, and certainly we'll get to Harbaugh and Bisciotti and all of that. But defensively as well, and Luke did a great job of breaking this down, on Monday morning, the Monday morning quarterbacking we do around here, which is 11th year quarterback, 11th year head coach. They won a Super Bowl. Yeah, they did, but it was 6 years ago. The 36-year-old rush edge who's had Achilles blown. 33-year-old safety who shaved his beard, and banged up linebacker in the middle who's not Ray Lewis. And, just go on and on. Box safety that they brought in that hasn't been a box safety. Cornerback that's skimpy, and Jimmy Smith coming back from Lee's Frank and last year's foot injury, and trying to run around with Antonio Brown, and injuries to the offensive line. But defensively, that's where this thing's gotten off kilter here. And statistically, they're still top of class. But if you've watched the last 9 quarters, it looks like a team that's old, tired, dead-legged, a little banged up in a lot of ways, and now not so rotational and so robust. Certainly the Achilles heel across the middle in chasing down tight ends, running backs, and anyone running across the middle of the field. We don't have guys that can catch them right now.
Well, not only that, but it also doesn't help with the schemes. I would think both coordinators, Martindale and also Morning, but they haven't changed up their looks. I mean, the interception, the play in the end zone to Smokey Brown where Joe didn't see Lamar Jackson. Lamar may have been the 5th option on that play, but that play they ran before was success, and the Steelers knew it was coming based on their formation. At least Marty could have changed the formation that way to try to confuse them. On the flip side of the ball, when you're telegraphing how you're going to defend the Steelers on 3rd and 4th down and you can't stop those slants, it's ridiculous. I mean, at least give them some different looks. I think teams have caught up to us, to our schemes, what we were doing earlier in the season, and our coaches haven't gone back and done different things to disguise, to use some deceptions, the motion on the offensive side of the ball, some different looks, and also on the flip side, on the defensive side of the ball, again, they're not disguising what they're going to do. And when you do that against a future Hall of Fame quarterback like a Ben Roethlisberger or a Drew Brees, they're going to figure you out. They're going to say, okay, we know based on your alignment what you're going to do because that's what you've been doing, and you're not going to adjust, and that's exactly what's happening, Nestor. They've caught up to us. The schemes are no longer working, so they have 2 weeks to go back, look at things, change them up, make them fresh, but I still think that they need a change at quarterback. I just don't think this is getting better. The offensive line is still going to stay banged up. Joe Flacco cannot buy himself time with his feet. He needs time to go through progressions. They're doing him a disservice, the fan base a disservice, and the team a disservice by keeping him in there. That's my opinion.
Dennis Koulatsos joining us here. He'll be here on Thursday from 3 until 5 with some more strong opinions. You can also follow him out of the SSV on WNST, out on Twitter before, during, after. Boy, statistically, right? Points allowed, yards, all of that stuff, and these gruesome 20 play drives, right, that either, net points in the case of Pittsburgh or don't net points in the case of the Saints, and where we are with the sack totals that were gaudy in the beginning of the year, but they're not taking the ball away, they're not creating turnovers, the ball's not even going up in the air and them getting unlucky. And certainly the pass rush part of this, of you've got to stop the other team's quarterback from doing what they want to do. And obviously when they're having so much success with 1-step, 2-step, 3-step drop, nobody even has to get into a 5-step drop. You don't have to worry about Suggs taking a long angle or a short angle. They've been blocking it up and protecting it pretty well. That's what's really been missing here. The fact that we have not done anything to get the other team's quarterback off the spot since the plane left the dirt in Nashville.
Yeah, they're just dinking and dunking all the way down the field, Nestor. They're not taking deep shots. They don't have to take deep shots. They're just nickel and diming us to death. They look at our defensive alignment. If their defensive backs are playing off of the receiver, they're running quick screens or slants. And if they have tight man coverage, they're using rubs. They're doing different things to get the receivers open. Things that we never see the Ravens do, right? I mean, I watched that kid, Nick Mullins, the other night from San Francisco. Never heard of him, right? Undrafted free agent. He got guys wide open. No one within 15 yards of them, because you have Kyle Shanahan, who's a brilliant offensive mind. He knows how to get receivers open. When's the last time we saw a Ravens receiver with nobody around him, with space around him? We haven't. All of the catches are tightly contested. Chris Moore had to make a highlight reel catch. We're not used to your favorite receivers holding up the balls like that. But every time Flacco throws the ball, the receiver's got someone draped all over him. We don't see receivers, backs, tight ends out in space with nobody around. That happens with other teams, other games that we're watching. It's certainly not Ravens football.
Dennis Koulatsos is here. Tell them what's going on at Coons Florida Security Boulevard, and then we're gonna make you the owner of the team, Dennis. We're gonna transfer. Steve's gonna come over to Coons Florida Security Boulevard and run the dealership for 2 weeks, and you're gonna fix the Ravens between now and Cincinnati.
Oh man, you know what? That'd be a dream come true. But they couldn't handle me over there at the Castle, because Coons Baltimore Ford. I've been here for 14 seasons. I like to think I'm in the same category as Bill Belichick when it comes to auto sales. We can't have a bad year. We can't have a bad season. We have to produce results. We don't make excuses. We don't take 3-step drops. So we find open receivers. We play great defense. But
does it say do your job when I come in the lobby?
Do your job, man. You got to do your job. It's one of my mantras. I love Bill Belichick. I love Nick Saban.
By the way, have you read the book yet? Have you read Ian O'Connor's book?
Absolutely.
All right.
Absolutely.
I wasn't sure. Have you read Big Game yet?
Big Game, no. Which one?
The Big Game, Mark Leibovich. My favorite the best sports book I've read this century is The Big Game. Yes.
Big Game.
I am 195 pages in. I'm saving it a little bit for the bye weekend. I also, while I'm on the video camera, I want to give a plug out, because this guy's one of my favorite people and one of my mentors, okay? John Eisenberg's new book just came. I'm holding it up right now. The League, How 5 Rivals Created the NFL and Launched a Sports Empire. So if the season really goes awry, I've got some good holiday reading for you, Den. If the game out in Carson doesn't tickle you, but you know what? The game in Carson will tickle your fancy if we're 6-9, because Lamar Jackson will be playing by then, right? Like,
absolutely.
That's what we're talking about here this week, right? Like, and then to your point, finish your plug for Coons 4, because I want to make you Steve Bisciotti, because I'm dying to hear your take on all this stuff.
No, you know what? Again, we have great deals at Coons Baltimore Ford. We have year-end savings. We're selling a lot of trucks, cars, SUVs. Our commercial customers can take advantage of Section179.org. They can write off up to $1 million worth of vehicle purchases. Check with your accountant and see how much money you can save. Inventory has never been better. You can still get 0% financing for 72 months here at Coons Baltimore Ford.
So buy-in before the end of the year, there is a benefit to that.
There really is. It's benefit for discussion, for a pump and a break, for taking a global view of where we stand here at 4-5.
All right,
we are what our record says we are. We're not. This is who we are. 4-5.
All right. So Steve Bisciotti wakes up on Monday morning. I don't know how many stiff pops he had, during the game on Sunday afternoon, or what his thought would be. But certainly Ian Rappaport starts this stuff in the morning that, let's say they lost 37-10, right? And let's say Flacco and Lamar Jackson are animatedly heated on the sidelines, or there's some Steve Smith stirring the drink, or Bernard Pollard, or, whatever would happen in the postgame, that somebody would be a little too fiery, right? About ownership, or about leadership, or about coaching, or about what the hell are we doing out there. there was none of that, but at every turn in the locker room, questions abounded amidst the media, smelling the blood in the water of, should John Harbaugh still be the coach of this team on Monday, Tuesday, bye week, Cincinnati 2 weeks from now? And I found that to be sort of a fire Harbaugh rage on the internet. By the way, just as an aside, I want to throw this at you, Den. I left the stadium and I came up and I watched all the guys do their locker room thing, and, you know, it's what we do after the game. And I walked out and I came up and there was a drunk fan in an Anquan Bolden jersey berating Jermaine Illuminor. You know, calling him a bum 20 feet away, didn't want to get 10 feet away or 5 feet away. And it was so awful. You know what I mean? Just for the 10 seconds of it on the way out. And I just spent time with that kid downstairs, and he's meeting with the media. He hasn't played. He wants to play well. And look, he didn't play well, right? We're all where that is. But, you know, it was a little bit of a human touch for me during an election week and an internet where we see people throwing, you know, lobbing grenades over the top in words to everyone. I saw that. And then I think, like, what does Bisciotti wake up to? Where is Eric DeCosta on this? Where's Ozzie Newsome on this? What is John Harbaugh thinking about his next gig at Michigan State or Maryland or the you know, I don't know, the Miami Dolphins, whatever the next gig will be? And for Flacco, for all of them, for Suggs, for Weddle, for Yanda, for any of the veteran people around here, all the coaches, because they're all a part of this, that when Harbaugh's name is mentioned, the wife of Wink Martindale, the daughter of Jerry Ross, you know, everyone's affected, right, by all of this. And it's the middle of the year, and if there's a move to make, this is sort of that time when fans that are screaming bloody murder, and look, there are empty seats in this stadium, there's empty seats in every stadium. I think Bisciotti hears more of that than maybe, I think he has way more rabbit ears than a lot of owners do about his feelings and his pride and his ego and his brand. But I think shooting John Harbaugh Week 9 and bringing panic upon everyone, everywhere, and bringing attention onto himself. And I know you read my blog on that, you know, Monday morning. I just don't think it's the way Steve's going to manage this thing.
Yeah, well, first of all, Jermaine Illuminor is a very fine young man. He actually bought a truck from us at Coons Baltimore Ford, so we all got a chance to meet him. That's the human side of it. Him, you know, he's a great guy. So
I didn't even know that part of it, by the way. Literally, that's what I walked out of the stadium to encounter on Sunday.
But he bought an F-150. In fact, we saw it from the top of the stadium. We were looking at the players' parking lot. We said, "Oh, there's Jermaine's F-150." But there is a human side to it, and we're all very sensitive to that. We see these players from a different angle that most fans see them. But if I'm Steve Bisciotti, first of all, I'm not firing anybody mid-season. I don't think that's his style. He's a classy owner, and it's not going to accomplish anything if you're going to, who are you going to elevate? Is it Greg Roman? Because I do think that both coordinators right now, they're suspect as well. Their performance has been very uneven and not good at all. So here's the question. You brought up Bernard Pollard. So if I'm Steve Bisciotti, I'm asking John Harbaugh, look, here's a scale. It's the A to Z. You have Bernard Pollard, who said that you're a terrible coach, that you're egomaniac, that you're surprised that you didn't fire Wink Martindale when he got the Gatorade bath against the Titans, that you're the reason why this organization is horrible. You know, you didn't want myself and Ray Lewis and Ed Reed on your team. You wanted to pick your own players. To the other side, is it Joe Flacco? Is it Flacco the reason why this team can't get to the next level? So the question is it John? Is it Joe? And I think at some point we're going to find out. I think next season we'll find out who was at fault here in Baltimore. Was it the quarterback or the coach? Now, a guy like Pollard thinks he likes the quarterback. He thinks Flacco's got the goods. He thinks he's a great quarterback. Elite, in fact. He just doesn't think that John Harbaugh is. So that's the question that I think Steve Bisciotti has to figure out the next couple of weeks. And I think how they play the rest of the season, if they miss the playoffs, I just can't see how they're not going to make a change. Maybe John deserves a brand new start, and I like John. He's going to be great. He's going to get $40 million for the next 5 years, whether, as you mentioned, the Dolphins or the Cowboys or the Browns, which the idiot in me would love to see him go to Cleveland. You know, in Ohio, he's a Midwest kind of a guy, and coach the Browns with Baker Mayfield and see what he can make out of that organization. Although if I was his agent, I would advise him to steer clear of that. I would probably go to Miami or Dallas if I were him, or Green Bay for that matter. But and then Flacco, we can see what Flacco can do, you know, in another system, and maybe somebody can figure out how to how to build a team around Joe's strengths, which I'm not sure that our coordinators have ever done, although Pollard says that, Jim Caldwell was the guy for Flacco, and we can all agree that, Gary Kubiak also had a positive effect on him. So I think those are the conversations that they have to have, the stuff they have to put on the table. And here's the other conversation, Nestor. Do they tank the season without telling us? Do they say, okay, you know what, we're going to ride with the rookie to see if he's got the good to lead us?
Well, you drafted him. I mean, you drafted him. You spent a two next year.
You know what? Let's see what we have. You know what you have with Flacco, so let's see what we have. Let's the question mark, the unknown. Can the game slow down enough for him? And I think at this point of the season, I mean, I got guys beating me up, saying that Lamar Jackson's not, he can't play quarterback in the NFL. How do we know this? We haven't seen
I'm telling you, there's a lot of people in the building right now who don't believe that he's ever going to win 12 games in this league consistently.
On what, though? Based on practice?
Based on all, based on everything they've seen over the body of work over 5 months, that if they put him in there to play against Cincinnati 2 weeks from now, that it wouldn't be as good of an opportunity for them to win over 65 plays as it would be if Joe Flacco were in there.
Well, how many times has Joe Flacco beaten the Bengals? That's my point.
Oh, fair enough. I mean, look, I'll hear both sides of this, and certainly with the tackles being out, he doesn't stand much of a chance with no pocket. I mean, I don't know what else there is to say. He's a guy that needs parts around him to go well, but so does Tom Brady. You don't see Tom Brady running around for his life. You don't see wide receivers dropping the ball with Tom Brady, and you see open receivers because the schemes get receivers open. They just do, right?
But here's the difference. Bill Belichick did say that. He said, you can't expect your September running backs to be healthy in November. Therefore, he takes a Cordero Patterson and converts him into a running back. He takes a shot on a Josh Gordon. They do things that no other organization does, and they are the exception. But you know what? If you're going to model after somebody, that's a great organization to model yourself after. You just don't see the Ravens making those type of moves. You don't see them taking those kind of chances. They've had chances to bring in. They had a chance to bring in Adrian Peterson last year and this year, right? AD's just tearing it up down in D.C. He could have been a difference maker for the Ravens. Yes, they have a forced offensive line, but a great running back does make your line look better. It's just a fact. They go hand in hand. So they have a lot of work to do. I just hope they take the next 2 weeks and calmly discuss what they're going to do going forward. And I was glad to hear John in his presser say that, maybe they need to see Lamar a lot more on the field. I'm all for that for all the right reasons. You have a mobile quarterback and a forced offensive line. To me, that screams quarterback change at this stage of the season. If that any designs to catch lightning in a bottle and hopefully make a run the next 7 games.
Last thing for you, Dennis Koulatsos. You can hear him from 3 until 5 here on Thursday. The Eric DeCosta part of this is fascinating because no other organization that I'm aware of recently, and I'm sure somebody out there, maybe when Ernie Accorsi left, he passed down the baton or whatever, and certainly nobody ever passes the baton in Dallas that ain't named Jones, right? But, around here, this has been Eric Bisciotti and Ozzie Bisciotti, who was once Eric, or, Modell and Ozzie Modell. Nothing has changed around here, right? Like it is a family-run business to some degree, and there has not been, things in this life change very slowly, if they ever change at all. There you go. I dropped a little J.D. Souther on there for you. So, or maybe it was Don Henley. I'm not sure which one. But Eric DeCosta is the future, right, and has always been the future, who's been the now. The fascinating part for me is if you say, well, it's time for John to go because John wants to go and Steve wants John to go and Eric wants something that's his own and Steve thinks Eric should have something of his own to be able to. He's waited around through 10 other job offers to do this. His wife's here. His family's here. Give Eric DeCosta this 4 to 6 year period to create his own thing. That's something to be said here because no other organization already knows who its general manager is next year without knowing who its quarterback or its coach is, right?
Well, and I have several concerns about Eric DeCosta. And again, like you have met him before, he's a good man, family man. But, Eric has been in charge of the scouting department for the Ravens for several years now. They've lost great scouts like Joe Douglas and a bunch of others to the Eagles. And, of course, the Eagles won the Super Bowl last year. They have replaced those scouts. So my concern is Eric's input because even this past draft, we take a 25-year-old tight end who right now the third-round tight end, Mark Andrews, looks a whole lot better than, right? We passed on Derwin James, who was a lights-out safety for the Chargers. We passed on DJ Moore, Calvin Ridley. We passed on some guys that had a better pedigree and a higher rating than Hayden Hurst. So to me, how much of his fingerprints were on this last year's draft? How much of his fingerprints were on the Lamar Jackson selection? Was that a DaCosta pick? Was it an Ozzie pick? Or was it a Bisciotti pick? These are things that I don't know that I would certainly like to ask someone who knew and get some answers to those questions. And the other part that bothers me, Nestor, is the fact that Ozzie's going to hang around next year for reasons I don't know why. I mean, when I got here in '05, there was the old GM didn't hang around because if that was part of the equation. I don't care how long he'd been here. I would have taken the job. I mean, with all due respect, Ozzie needs to do his own thing, maybe go down and mess with Alabama football or something. But if I'm Eric DaCosta, I want the ball, and I also want my own head coach because that's Harbaugh is not Eric DaCosta's coach, and Eric also deserves to live and die by his own coach. I think he should make that decision, and at this rate, it looks like he's going to have that opportunity to do so.
Here's Dennis Koulatsos. He will be here on Thursday from 3 until 5. It is the SSV on WNST. In between now and then, you can find him out at Coons Ford, Security Boulevard. And, of course, bye week this week. There's never a bye week in the sports radio and sports media business, and there's never a bye week in the car selling business and car servicing business. And certainly, this is overtime for the football business this week, right? Literally.
Absolutely. Now, keep doing the great work on WNST. I love your segments with Luke. Very, very hard-hitting and correct.
Well, we don't aim to be correct. We just aim to go wherever the wind blows.
Well, we like to be incorrect the way the season's going. Hopefully, you'll have a better outcome than what it seems like it's going to have to.
You know what? I did think about this on Monday morning. I was thinking, what's on my radio station and what other conversations are being had on the internet and radio and elsewhere. And I'm like, you know what? I like the conversation we're having around here. So yeah. I appreciate you being a part of what I like to call the intelligent conversation that we do here at WNST.
That's taking us. Be well.
Hey, it says so on my card. You think I'm lying? Hold on here. Hold on. I'm going to hold the card up for everybody. This is literally the card right there. Hold on. Get it right to the camera where it needs to be. Intelligent conversation. There it is, right there.
You know what everybody else is saying? They're saying fire everyone, and that's not the answer. That's unintelligent. To fire
we do intelligent conversation. The card says so. I promise you that, all right?
Right. It's unintelligent to say fire everyone. It just doesn't work.
All right. I'm going to drink some water, and I'm going to hydrate, all right?
And it's not classy either. So we're a classy organization. Keep it classy, Ravens fans. Just keep it classy.
All right. Well, that's what I keep thinking. And got 2 weeks to towel off. We'll get back, and Marvin will be coming here looking to beat us, right?
Right. Yeah, really put another nail in the coffin, that's for sure.
Hey, by the way, while we're at it, because I know you have plenty of time, how about those Orioles decision? Oh.
Yeah, okay. I don't know. I don't know if those guys – I don't know. You know better than I know. But it doesn't look good to me.
I don't know. I mean, I'm. Remember the old Spicoli song from I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know.
I don't think they know. Does anybody know over there? Maybe get Brady Anderson on the line, see what Brady knows. I think it's Brady might have an idea.
Is that a Jimmy Buffett song? I don't know. I don't know. I don't know.
Yeah,
I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. All right. See you soon.
Know, man. See you now.
All right. Dennis Koulatsos, he knows. Coons Ford, Security Boulevard. Go see him. The SSV on WNST. I'm hoping to chase John Eisenberg around to promote his book for him because I think it's going to be great. I'm looking forward to reading that one. Once I get done this one, I'm the guy that still reads books, which is how I do intelligent conversation. You can subscribe to our WNST text service out at WNST.net. Of course, Dennis and Coons Ford bring that to you. If there are any changes, the Orioles say anything. Maybe the Orioles were waiting for the Ravens bye week to announce that they're, I don't know. I don't even want to say what I was going to say. I'm going to keep that to myself. I'll leave that as a blank slate. I often put up the Baltimore Ravens are blank. If I put the Baltimore Orioles are blank, there might be blanks underneath. Nasty at WNST.net finds me. I'm on Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, Snapchat, Instagram, streaming live on our Facebook, as well as our YouTube WNSTV channel. We are WNST.net, AM 1570 and WNST Towson, Baltimore, and we never stop talking intelligently about Baltimore sports.